Happy Saturday. So, hey, did you come up with a plan? Dolores Moyer shared hers on our Facebook page here. I thought it was a great plan. I finished day 1 of day 75, so I'm down to day 74. And I had to get a little bit creative because there was a significant snowfall that we had. Well, not significant, but we had a snow and an ice storm, but that's all part of the deal. So Grant Cardone has a new video out. He does videos all the time, and he did a new video because he did Undercover Billionaire, and it starts next week. I think it's on the 6th, Tuesday or Wednesday. I better know what day that is because that's my daughter's birthday. And so he did a whole video on his net worth because he goes, I know that you guys are going to wonder, whether or not I'm actually a billionaire. And here's what was interesting. So he was 29 years old. He had a degree in accounting, but he couldn't get a job doing anything with that. Grant's 10 years older than me, so he would have graduated from college in 1979, 1980. And so he was selling cars. And he was very worried about finances from an early age for a reason I'll tell you in a minute. So he was doing the Dave Ramsey type approach to your finances, not have any debt, and make sure your expenses are less to try to create net worth. Well, so what happened by age 29 is he had a $200,000 house that he owed only about $80,000 on, so it had about $120,000 in equity. He had a 401k that had about, was really an IRA that had about $40,000 in it. He had a car that he had no debt on, so the car was worth, whatever. He said they were old junky cars, so not very much, a couple $1,000. And he had no debt. So he had a net worth of, maybe $200,000 and zero debt. But something happened with him where he looked at that and he said, at this pace, my net worth isn't going to get anywhere. And his goal was to be wealthy. His goal wasn't to be have a comfortable net worth. Well, why? Well, because his dad died when Grant was very young. His dad died when he was 10. And Dad had lived a nice middle class, upper middle class life and left Mom with an insurance policy and a house that was paid for and a little bit of money. But what Grant watched is his mom, who had not made any money and was obviously young because Dad was young when he died, was forced to sell the house and always worried about money because she had this a fairly decent pile of money, but she had no cash flow. As Grant will tell you, she wasn't wealthy. She had an asset, but she had to sell the asset because she had no way of maintaining it. Even the life insurance policy, so the house was worth a couple $100,000 and he left her with a $250,000 life insurance policy. That's not enough money to take care of her for the rest of her life because she had no cash flow. So Grant said to himself at age 29, I want to be wealthy. I want to be rich. I don't want to have this this lower my expenses, lower my debt type approach. He just didn't think that made any sense. So he started studying wealthy people, and one of the ones that he studied was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And the rich dad in that is a guy by the name of Keith Cunningham, who I've met Keith. He's a Tony Robbins speaker at Business Mastery, and I listen to a lot of his stuff. So here's what Grant did. Within 4 years, he sold his house and rented something for a small amount of money, took that equity, and the first thing he did was he bought a house. But he quickly decided that he didn't want to do houses. He wanted to do multifamily units. Why? Because he had studied wealthy people, and he learned what they did in order to create cash flow and to create wealth. So he quit the one bedroom, went to multifamily unit, sold his car, leased a car, and rented, and liquidated his 401k. He took all of that money and he bought a multifamily unit. And I think he bought 16 units. Actually, probably a little bit more than his house payment because he had not a lot of debt. And he leased a car. So he's actually increased his expenses and he's way increased his debt. So now he has $600,000 worth of debt on a multifamily unit when before he had $80,000 worth of debt on a $200,000 house and no debt on a car. So, kind of the opposite of what you would think, right? He's increased his expenses and he's increased his debt. But what did he also increase? He also increased his cash flow. And that property, he took the cash flow and he improved the piece of property, and 4 years later, he sold it for $4 million. Now, he'll tell you he got a little bit lucky because of where he bought it and how that worked out, but that piece of property also during that same period of time paid him $120,000. So he said even if it only had gone up in value 20%, he still would have increased $160,000 plus the $120,000. So he would have gone up $280,000 in value during the same period of time, but he had increased his debt and increased his expenses. Once he did that once, then he said all he's done from age 33, because he did it for 4 years, until now, is continue to do that same thing. Purchase a piece of property, increase the value in that piece of property, collect cash flow off of it while he's done it, and then turn around and sell it or continue to maintain it. He said, I sold that multifamily unit, but had I hung on to it, I still would have done very, very well. And he goes, and all the ones that I've sold, if I made money selling them, but if I'd have hung on to them, I would have made money too. And now he's become a billionaire. Tim, what's the point of the story? Know what you want and follow somebody who has done what you want to do. I'm not saying that you go follow Grant Cardone's path and create wealth in that fashion. I'm saying he knew what he wanted and he figured out how to get it by watching what somebody else had done and doing what they did. So remember, as we move forward with regards to all of these goals, that's what we want to do. Whatever you want to do with your health, don't reinvent the wheel. Find somebody who's had the same success, figure out what they did, do the same thing. Sow the same seeds, you're going to get the same rewards. Grant didn't want the low debt, no bills type approach because for him, that wasn't going to work because he had seen that didn't work for his wife, for his mother. And so he didn't want to do it that way. He decided he wanted wealth in a different way. And so for him, that came in the form of doing these multifamily units and creating cash flow, which clearly he had a knack for because he picked the right ones in the right locations. That's why he made so much money on top of, he would have still made money, but Grant obviously figured out where to go buy these things and when to buy them. And as a result, dramatically increased in value over time. That was his secret sauce. But even if he didn't do that, he would have increased in a different way because that's what he believed in and that's what he wanted. He wanted the cash flow is what he wanted because he wanted to become wealthy. His goal was to make it to multi-million, 100 million, probably wasn't billion, but he's gotten there. So what's your goal? What's your outcome? And then figure out what is it that you want to do. If your goal is, I want my body to look a certain way, that's probably a different approach than my goal is, I want to make sure that I live for a certain period of time. I want to live for a long period of time and have a tremendous amount of energy and health. That might be a different approach. then I want my body to look a certain way. So up to you as to how you do that and what your outcome is, but find somebody who's created that result, sow the same seeds, and you'll get the same rewards. So as we move forward, take a look at your goals and be specific as to what it is that you actually want, and then look at who's done that and go figure out what they did, do the same thing. Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Welcome to 2021. We're all excited. I know I'm excited. And I want to say hi to everybody because I saw who just popped up. Rebecca, good morning. Valerie, great to see you. My great uncle Bill, great to see you. Dolores, you're always here. Beth is here. And my friend Dahlia from Egypt is on here watching and saying hi. Dahlia, I miss you terribly. And I was actually just talking to you Christmas Day. I was with Lisa and Katie, and I was telling her that I get to say hi to you every now and then. I hope everything is great in Egypt, and Happy New Year, and I can't wait to get back to your beautiful country. Have an awesome day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.